Ooh, the evil orange man, the god emperor, the Teflon Don. Well, the fact that he exists keeps many a politician up at night, and not because some of them have a blood-to-alcohol ratio that could legally classify them as a brewery. So this article from Axios, a radical plan for Trump's second term. Lefties, I know you're trying to pervert language because you're a bunch of deconstructionist gimps, but that highbrow gamble of doing so in the aims of looking intelligent and obfuscation is starting to nosedive into you just looking like a bunch of bellends, especially when you've watered down the term radical to mean anyone to the right of Chairman fucking Mao. But anyway, long-ass article, so I just want to read a few bits and pieces from this. Former President Trump's top allies are preparing to radically reshape the federal government. Oh, goody. If he is re-elected, purging potentially thousands of civil servants and filling career posts with loyalists to him and his America First ideology. People involved in the discussion tell Axios. The impact could go well beyond typical conservative targets such as the Environmental Protection Agency and the Internal Revenue Service. Trump's allies are working on plans that would potentially strip layers at the Justice Department, including the FBI, and reaching into national security, intelligence, the State Department, and the Pentagon, sources close to the former president say. When I read this, my eyes grew large, my jaw dropped, and a loud thud could be heard as a certain part of my anatomy walloped the desk. Anyway, they intend to stack thousands of mid-level staff jobs. Well-funded groups are already developing lists of candidates selected often for their animus against the system, in line with Trump's long-running obsession with draining the swamp. This includes building extensive databases of people vetted as being committed to Trump and his agenda. The preparations are far more advanced and ambitious than previously reported. What is happening now is an inversion of the slapdash and virtually non-existent infrastructure surrounding Trump ahead of his 27 presidential transition. That I can believe because I remember reading from, I think it was someone associated with the Trump team now, that the Trump win in 2016 was totally unexpected, and the man went into this horde of wolves with a blindfold on left to his own devices. So the party was caught flat-footed. He had no support. Now that they can see he's really serious, he's been in the belly of the beast and survived, which is an enormous testament to Trump's godlike powers of stress resistance and vitality, and now he's slowly building up this battle-hardened war chest to beat the machine with. All behind the scenes, really, Trump being banned from Twitter probably has been the best boon in the grand scheme of things. These groups are operating on multiple fronts, shaping policies, identifying top lieutenants, curating an alternative labor force of unprecedented scale, and preparing for legal challenges and defenses that might go before Trump-friendly judges, all the way to a 6-3 Supreme Court. This is just my take, but when Trump saw the decision by SCOTUS to rule against the EPA, that was a deep bleeding wound. Trump saw the blood and went game on and shifted into high gear. That was phase one. Trump signed an executive order creating Schedule F in the accepted service in October of 2020, which established a new employment category for federal employees. Sources close to Trump said that if he were elected to a second term, he would immediately reimpose it. So basically, he would remove what amounts to essentially public sector tenure. The bureaucrats. Tens of thousands of civil servants who in roles deemed to have some influence over policy would be reassigned as Schedule F employees. Upon reassignment, they would lose their employment protections. Excellent. New presidents typically get to replace more than 4,000 of so-called political appointees to oversee the running of their administration. But below this rotating layer of political appointees sits a mass of government workers who enjoy strong employment protections and typically continue their service from one administration to the next, regardless of the president's party affiliation. Kudos, you just described in one paragraph what is wrong with the United States government as a whole. Well done, sir. I love when lefty writers articulate perfectly well why their own side sucks ass. Because there it is, right there. The rot, the festering tumor of bloated government bureaucracy that soaks up an ungodly amount of money that serves no fucking purpose other than waste money and make things more inefficient. An initial estimate by the Trump official who came up with Schedule F found it could apply to as many as 50,000 federal workers, a fraction of a workforce of more than 2 million, but a segment with a profound role in shaping American life. To put this in perspective for you, say they earn roughly 80 to 100 grand. You'd save billions of dollars, which could go towards funding Trump's wall. Trump, in theory, could fire tens of thousands of career government officials with no recourse for appeals. He could replace them with people he believes are more loyal to him and to his America First agenda. Fantastic. Even if Trump did not employ Schedule F to this extent, the very fact that such power exists create a significant chilling effect on government employees. Ooh, terribly scary. Who gives a flying fruit bat's right bollock about government employees? I know some morons will lose their mind and go, oh, this is how every tyrannical government regime starts. You could say that of literally every regime that comes to power. This is not necessarily indicative of the calm before the storm. Well, it might be if you're a useless waste of space in that mess we call Washington, but I fail to give a fuck. Here's the thing, and I'll probably have some pushback with people who disagree with me on this, but the problem is not the corrupting influence of power. It is the weakness of men in the face of its temptation. I thank Eric von Konrad-Leden for that concept. It's a good one. Such pendulum swings and politicization could threaten the continuity and quality of service to taxpayers. I didn't know draining them dry of all their blood with excessive bureaucratic bullshit constitutes as a service to the taxpayer. The regulatory protections, which are bollocks, the checks on executive power, and other aspects of American democracy, which is shite, by the way. Same thing with the regulations. It's just an unnecessary middleman designed to give more power to the state. That's all regulations are. Well, for the most part, you have one or two that actually serve a function, but there's very, very few of them. My good lord, what a load of BS. Quality of service to the taxpayer. Have you seen the current state of government? Not just in Yankee land, but the Western world overall. People hate government. Hell, if you do a poll right now, and you ask which group of people are most despised in the modern world, I would wager heavily it's either politicians or the media class that would top the list, likely followed by lawyers and professional athletes who need to shut the fuck up about political issues. But anyway, this right here, this is why it must be Trump and not DeSantis. God bless the man, I have nothing against him. He's like the best governor in the country. But he is not Trump. DeSantis worries the establishment. Trump threatens them. And that's a big difference. He's got the incumbency advantage, and you already know what he's going to do. DeSantis isn't going to do this because he's a career politician. He has high aspirations in politics, potentially. Trump does not. I remember watching him, I think it was 2014, where he spoke about his lack of indulgences that he saw tank people around him, mainly the drinking and the drugs, and Trump abstains from that. Credit to him, but he said, to retire is to expire. This right here, this is his last project on his legacy. This is his swan song. And it is one for the history books, absolutely. In many ways, Trump is the personification of the current American empire. It's brash, bold, arrogant, defiantly fuck you, and its best days are arguably behind it. But there is still life in it yet, and if it's going to go down, it is going to go down swinging and with a bang. However, if there is someone that is going to restore it to its former glory, then it must be someone that has experienced it in its heyday. And there is no man more suited for that job than him. So Godspeed and God bless Donald J. Trump. And that is all for today. I will see you all next time.